Hello, and welcome to tonight's episode of The Bottom Line on Air. My name is Claire Sullivan, and I'll be your host. Each week, we will explore our campus's current events and breaking news stories. We are using this space to dig deeper, to elevate discourse and understanding, and to put faces to names on FSU campus. Tonight, we are joined by Luke Vought, one of the stars of the Spoon River Project, a production of the Department of Theater and Dance at FSU, which opens tomorrow evening. We are also joined by Dr. Elesha Ruminski and Raye Maguire, who are leading a new initiative by the Department of Communication called Bobcats Against Bias. Their upcoming slate of events are aimed at improving community relationships and kickstarting new projects, and so we are very excited to hear more from them. First guest, Luke Vought, is a theater major and actor in an upcoming production by the Theater and Dance Department, the Spoon River Project. Many might remember Luke from his role in Seven Keys to Baldpate and Five by Ives. Thank you, Luke, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, right off the bat, tell us about the Spoon River Project and, without too many spoilers, what the show is about and how the story is being told.
Okay, so the story itself, it centers around a fictitious rural town called Spoon River.
Mhm.
And the idea is that the story is being told by the spirits of the people that used to live there. You got all these people coming out, they're sort of telling their stories, their life stories, how they died, if they had any regrets, stuff like that. And it's not so much a linear plot line as it is almost world building the idea of what the town was like.
Okay.
And because it's a small town, you've got all these characters that kind of know each other. Like someone's talking, it's like, oh, I know that guy. I don't care about that guy at all. Oh, I'm the one who killed him, stuff like that. And you got some characters where they took secrets to the grave with them and they're just now talking about it 200 years later.
So you and the other cast members will be playing multiple characters. So of the four that you were portraying, which one of them do you identify with the most or relate to the most?
Well, I kind of identify with all of them in a little bit because Marzi's really good at casting people. So she sort of gets the idea of, okay, this person would probably be good for this, 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 and this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one that I relate to a little bit more than the other ones, there's a character where all of them are frustrated with their lives in some respect.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that I relate to the most is he's the only one that's not blaming everything around him for what's going wrong. Like in his mind, everything is always his fault.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying like I relate to that every day of my life, but that's usually the mentality that I get when something's going wrong, where, well, it's probably something that I did
Mm-hmm.
because I can control me. I can't control everything else.
Right.
Yeah. Along those lines.
So the author of the Spoon River Anthology, which FSU's production uses as source material, Edgar Lee Masters, draws from his own experience in a rural small town to write poems. Luke, you're a Frostburg native, which, so you also grew up in a pretty small rural town. Did this experience inform your performance, or influence it at all? Like, if so, how so?
It did influence it because one of the things I actually thought about this when they said Spoon River is a small town
Mm-hmm.
it's a quote that I think my uncle Rob said it best, where when you live in a small town, you can't keep a secret
Mm-hmm.
because everybody knows each other, everybody talks to each other. So you either learn how to be really good at being sneaky from a really young age,
Mm-hmm.
or you get caught. And it doesn't matter what it is, no one's going to let you hear the end of it because that is headline-worthy news to them.
Yes, I do understand that. You are in the home stretch of your undergraduate career, Luke. Congratulations, by the way. And so, as you reflect back on your time at Frostburg, what was one of your favorite shows to be a part of?
No question in my mind, my favorite show here was Alabama Story. Because, being in Baldpate, being in Ives, that was fun. I love doing the comedy, love making people laugh. And with Spoon River, a lot of it's really almost dramatic pieces, not a whole lot of jokes in it. But with Alabama Story, I kind of got to play both sides because my character he had some jokes where he got the audience to laugh, but at the same time, he could make them cry 20 minutes later. and just stuff that was going on with me at the time, that performance was really cathartic.
So tell me about what you have coming up after graduation. Like, what's your next step?
After graduation, my plan at the moment is just keep working and saving up money so I can move to a bigger city. My plan is Austin because it's a really good place for stand-up comedy. It's a really good place for voice acting. And compared to like New York and LA, it's a third of the price if I actually want to live there.
Right. Texas, right? We're talking about Austin, Texas.
We're talking about Austin, Texas.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, sorry, what?
I said they got some nice food there.
So last question for anyone interested in the Spoon River Project. How can they see the show, either in person or virtually? Like, how do we access it?
Okay, so big thing right out of the gate is, as far as I know, this time around the show is not virtual at all. We didn't get that set up. So It's all completely in person. It's open to students and staff at FSU just because of the COVID regulations, and it's also limited seating. So you got to get the tickets kind of early if you want to guarantee that you get one.
So this one is kind of a more limited viewing than like some of the others that have been done this semester?
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that is all I have to bug you with today, Luke. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about the Spoon River Project, which opens tomorrow, April 8th, and break a leg.
Thank you.
Our next guests are Dr. Elesha Ruminski and Raye Maguire. The two have been working with partners at Frostburg State University, Allegheny College of Maryland, and the Allegheny County Choose Civility Chapter, the Western Maryland Food Council, and Leadership Allegheny on numerous communication leadership projects. Thank you, Dr. Ruminski and Raye, for making time to tell us all about the exciting work that you guys have been doing.
It's good to be here.
So, Dr. Ruminski, the Communication Leadership Lab is under your direction, and though you have done so much great work, it's possible that some in our audience don't really know about the lab yet. So could you break it down for us, like explain what does the lab aim to accomplish?
Sure, Claire. Yeah, I'm happy to be here with you to share a little bit about what the lab is and how it formed, what it's trying to do to bring people around campus and community together. We started about 2016 following a Kettering Foundation opportunity. We had a learning exchange where I was able to work with a cohort of people that were from all around the nation, trying to create spaces on their campuses or in their communities that were centers for public life. And so we consider this a democracy hub, a way of coming together to have dialogues and deliberations, any kind of discussions that are framed, convened, facilitated, moderated, whatever way that we need to approach a situation with partners to have important conversations. And not always feel good conversations. Often we will have the need to talk about difficult topics. We know that we've got some really challenging issues we face on our campus and in our community. So we try to convene by building relationships with partners, inviting them into these opportunities to come into the conversation and just kind of observe and watch where that goes to support any kind of organizing processes or collaborations that are outcomes.
So last week, the lab held a roundtable on nonprofit leadership, and earlier this evening, you held a virtual dialogue on allyship. For those who missed those events, there will be an opportunity to participate tomorrow, April 8th, during the Day of Civility. What is the full slate of events, and how can folks get involved?
Yeah, I hope people do join online. We've got some virtual opportunities at 2 p.m. as part of the Western Maryland Food Council Conference. We're going to have a free event to the public, the Eat Learn Council Community Dialogue. And this follows a series of opportunities to come together in the community around food and eating good food. And really about sustaining our food systems that we've had through the lab over several years. Eat, Learn, Shift was the first time we did this, and then we worked with the co-op to have Eat, Learn Co-op. So now we're doing Eat, Learn Council. the idea is to, cooperatively come together, again, invite partners that are part of the food system, from farmers to restaurant owners to people running our local food banks, to be in conversation with each other, which is what the council, really is working to achieve. So we're just that extra, part of the community that's supporting the communication leadership involved in those efforts. So that's at 2 p.m. and virtually you can join us free. The other event that we have tomorrow is the Braver Angels debate at 7 p.m. And this is exciting because this is the first time that we're going to interact with Braver Angels as an organization. And their mission is to bring Reds and Blues together, right? People who are affiliated as Republican and Democrat, or just kind of leaning in those directions, to talk about difficult topics. In this case, they're going to be talking about the universal right of healthcare, and whether or not that's something people agree with or disagree with. The idea of introducing debate through Braver Angels, I think, is a key one timing wise, because this is not the traditional debate format. If you notice, we talk a lot about dialogue and deliberation in our efforts in the lab, and we want to work across all of the different communication competencies, practices, right? So we want to start working with debate as well. And our Frostburg State University has a debate team that Patrick O'Brien is doing the advising for, and Jessica Thayer from our SGA, and a lot of active leadership on campus is leading the effort on with this event. So we're looking forward to campus and community members being involved in this conversation, where people will offer, how they think, yes, this is an important right that people need to have, or no, they don't think that's a good idea, and that it might lead to something that's, government run in a way that's not helpful for community members or for our nation. So I think it'll be interesting, and it opens, it's not just watching people on a debate stage. It's really about having that broader communication once you hear some of the different perspectives. So that's at 7 p.m. The other thing we're going to offer is a podcast, and that'll kind of just be available that day for anyone to listen to at any point. We're going to record that, so that it's an offering that's available tomorrow, that is, edited through a partnership in our Department of Communication that, has features the conversation that is about communication leadership in 2021 and how we can walk the civility talk. So I'm excited about that, because that's a different kind of a project, and that, we're trying to look at different platforms of communication, which really has been part of our challenge and our opportunity this past year.
So I'd love to hear from both of you. The word civility is a very underutilized word, especially in the current climate. What are both of your own thoughts on the meaning of civility, and how do you think that we could be practicing it better as a campus community?
I think that the word civility can be misunderstood sometimes. A lot of people will just assume it means being nice. And sure, that's a bit part of it, but we like to take it a bit deeper than that. We can't just be nice. We have to take time to listen to one another, to respect one another. We have to be inclusive of other people. And civility means doing that. It means being intentional in our communication and taking that time to really learn how to communicate with each other in a way that's going to promote change and unity and coming together instead of division.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's been such a pleasure to work with Raye as a, partner in our work in the Communication Leadership Lab. And we have, those who work with us are lab assistants. That's an internship opportunity within the Department of Communication. Whether you're formally taking an internship or not, I invite people to join in that effort. And, Raye has been doing the work of helping to convene, with these different events that we're having, but also do some social media campaign work with our Bobcats Against Bias campaign that we're featuring online. And so been really exciting. And yeah, I'm learning a lot from her. But I agree. I mean, I think that, civility is something that is one of those words that needs to be defined collectively, right? It can't just be something that's prescribed. And I think, unfortunately, it's a word that will create that tension where people are concerned about it being, having a civilizing effect that's about control or about dictating the nature of the way that we come together or communicate. But really, I see it as the opposite. I draw on the work I did with my mentors at Duquesne University, Doctors Arnett and Arneson, who wrote about dialogic civility, which was really this opportunity to be invited to come into dialogue with others across narratives, right? Because we don't assume everyone has the same value system or has the shared principles, right? And that, to achieve that dialogue, it has to be something that continues to unfold, that it's something that has an ethical piece, but also a rhetorical piece. And what I mean, I guess, is that kind of highlights what my interests are, is, we have to think about how we have a certain set of values or virtues that we share, and keeping a community together and focusing on constructive work together to solve problems. But we also have to put it into action, right? It can't just be talk. It's got to be about, how do we apply the principle of respect or listening, like Raye mentioned, and that's where those principles of the Choose Civility chapter come from. P.M. Forney, who's a scholar from Johns Hopkins University, who's now passed. He wrote this book about choosing civility and these different principles as a way to kind of start the conversation, and so we draw on some of those to do the same thing, right? It's got to be interpreted what respect means in every situation and with everybody partnering. So we really hope people embrace that view of civility and help us keep figuring out what it means together.
Great, thank you. So again, to both of you, thinking about the mission of the Communication Leadership Lab, what are some of the highlights from these events that you think have affirmed the need for these dialogue opportunities?
Well, I think our events have gone really well. I feel like we've had a lot of great conversations and we've gotten to open the door to have some of these dialogues. But I do think that part of having these events and seeing how people interact in them has shown that, people are still a little nervous about having these conversations in some regards. But even if they are difficult topics, there's something we need to talk about. We have to have these conversations. We have to figure out what we're not doing right and how we can be better, or we're never going to improve. So I think the key takeaway I've had from our events is that it really is dialogue that brings people together. It really is communication, and it really is opening the door to bring in different perspectives and remembering to communicate civilly with these other perspectives to come together again.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, that it's shifted and changed what our needs are, right? We try to really pay close attention to what's going on campus, what's going on in the community, what's going on nationally and even globally, and so that makes it an adaptive kind of work. What's neat though, is it's also really part of the peace movement, right? Because you end up drawing on different kinds of communication skills to build a communication capital, essentially, right? That you can then shift and use the skills that you need at the time you need, even if it's a dialogue that we're having, right? Because, at other moments we're having a deliberation between options of how to solve a community problem. And so, it doesn't mean it's still not got some features of the dialogue where we're trying to listen and understand each other. So that's why we keep trying to learn and, attempt different frameworks, partner with organizations or people that have different approaches so that we can learn how to keep integrating those skills. And one of the things I've really enjoyed is with working with the Choose Civility Steering Committee and chapter in Allegheny County, which Leadership Allegheny here in Allegheny County created in 2018. They kind of came together for their cohorts project to do this. And we started that with some facilitated book discussions of Forney's book. Is we really just need to keep the conversation going. And if we can't use those different principles and keep interpreting them and bringing them into the process, or these different approaches that we need, then that stops the conversation. And what's needed too is literacy, right? I mean, one of the really valuable things is that Choose Civility is centered through the Allegheny County Library System. And that really emphasizes the importance of literacy, and how it's not just book literacy, it's this kind of literacy that comes by being in conversation and partnership with people collectively. And that is one really important example right now is about racial literacy, right? Like there have been some amazing conversations, some tough conversations, tough organizing processes to set up those conversations or reflect on how they went, that have been happening through Choose Civility efforts. And the lab is always willing and ready to partner with those kinds of, opportunities, because that's how we see them. We see them as things we want to move toward, not back away from, because they're hard.
And certainly the pandemic has altered each and every event over the last year. And yet the need to connect obviously remains and is perhaps even more important right now. So how are you approaching leadership and communication work in light of these new challenges, which I guess maybe aren't as new anymore, but definitely still something to overcome?
Well, I definitely agree with you when you say that connection may be more important now than ever. With the pandemic, we're all very isolated right now, and with other issues, we've become very divided. So I feel that right now it is important, even when it's difficult, to try and stay connected. I think from a communication standpoint, a big struggle is trying to get people interested in these events still. A lot of people are experiencing Zoom fatigue, classes are online, work is online. Trying to get people to come online for more meetings is difficult. So I think part of what we do to try to combat that is make it a dialogue. It's not just come and listen to people again. It's come, give your opinion, talk with us, make it more of a facilitated opportunity to communicate rather than just another Zoom call where we're going to tell you something.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, it's about communication leadership that's needed in our times, meaning, we think that it's important to show up, right, as a citizen of a campus, any organization, a region, as a nation. And so beyond just, going to the, place where you're going to cast your vote, we think that being in these conversations is an important part of creating democracy together. So communication leadership is having all those competencies to show up and feel able to listen when you need to, but also able to participate whenever you can to contribute to, expanding an understanding or an action, and making that action happen. And so I think what's important is that communication leadership is going to be integrated even more than ever in our curriculum in the Department of Communication, strategic communication wise, but also in terms of how we use social media and all the platforms available to us now, to be able to do this. But we want to retain that focus, not just on strategy, but also civility, because we really think that that's needed to have true communication leadership, that a leader in the action and work of leadership together, it really as center is about community and the collective being able to work together. So we do have a Choose Civility, opportunity to come together tomorrow, but we also have the Civil Citizen Communicator Award. The Civility Cup is awarded every year annually. We call for people to be nominated or even self-nominate to exhibit some of the things that they've done in the community with others, that highlights what that is that they're doing communication leadership wise. So if you're interested in nominating someone or kind of, putting out there what you've been doing, get in touch with me and I'll, be happy to accept that nomination.
So last question, how can community members learn more about the Communication Leadership Lab and how to get involved in the future?
Well, I would say you can take a look at our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram pages. You can contact me in the Department of Communication or check out our website. I'm available online virtually right now during the pandemic era, but I'll be back on campus this fall, I'm sure, for at least hybrid experiences. And, that's our hope, is that we can come face to face again and have you come into the, campus or local community spaces where we convene and join us.
Thank you, guys. This has been a great conversation. Raye and Dr. Ruminski, thank you for joining us this evening. We look forward to the Day of Civility and future Communication Leadership Lab activities. It's really exciting to see what you guys have going on.
Thanks, Claire.
Thank you for having us. We hope to see you at some of our future events.
Of course, yeah. We want to thank our guests, Dr. Elesha Ruminski, Raye Maguire, and Luke Vought. Be sure to check out the Day of Civility tomorrow, April 8th, and to catch the Spoon River Project this weekend. Our April 14th episode will feature Emily Hash, a dancer in the FSU Dance Company, Holly Veith, the Director of Disability Support Services on campus, and Ash Lester, a sculpturist who is organizing the all-campus art exhibition opening soon. This show is a collaboration between FSU TV3 and The Bottom Line. To stay connected with us, you can find The Bottom Line at thebottomlinenews.com and on Facebook and Twitter. FSU TV3 can also be found on social media and at frostburg.edu/FSU TV3. Thank you for joining us. My name is Claire Sullivan, and this has been The Bottom Line on Air. Good night.